You're listening to the Better Relationships After Baby podcast, where I believe things can actually be better than ever after having kids. But it takes intentional conversation, personal growth, and community to get there. I'm Chelsea Skaggs, life and relationship coach, fellow mom and wife, and lover of taboo topics. I'm here to give you insight, practical tools, and conversations to help your relationships survive and thrive through the big changes of parenthood. Let's get into today's episode. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Better Relationships After Baby. My warning for today is that there is probably going to be some background noise, and I know that for some people that is unprofessional, and I love to protect my space when I can. And sometimes you have things you got to get done or you want to get done, and it's better to do them with some imperfections than to skip over it. So I hope that that's how you feel when you hear the noise in the background today. My husband sometimes turns into daddy daycare when I have like a work day, or this morning I was at yoga and then I went somewhere to work for a few hours outside the house, and I came home and there were 3 extra kids here. And I love that. It is truly like my dream, my vision to be the home where the kids come, a place they get to play, a place that always has snacks for them. And it doesn't bother me at all. But it does mean that if today's episode for this week was going to get recorded, it's going to get a little bit noisier than what you're used to. I know you probably hear enough background noise in your own life, but I'm here with you this time. And we are going to be talking about something that comes up in nearly every relationship, which is fighting over nothing. You know, those little arguments about dishes in the sink, or laundry left unfolded, or whose turn it is to schedule the doctor's appointment. But is it really about the dishes? No, we know it's not. It's about the mental load. And if you've ever thought, why do we keep arguing about these tiny things? Or why does my partner act like I'm overreacting? This episode is for you. We are breaking down what the mental load actually is, why it leads to resentment, and how to start shifting the dynamic so that you're not constantly at odds over things that seem small but feel huge. My work as a coach is to be a detective, is to help people get to the core of their disconnect more quickly, saving them time, arguments, frustration, overwhelm, and know what to work on and how to work on it to up-level their relationship and their connection with one another again. So let's get into this, shall we? Whew. The mental load is the invisible, ongoing to-do list in your brain. It is not just what needs to be done. It's thinking about what needs to be done. It's making sure that the tab in your brain doesn't close so that what needs to be done doesn't get completely forgotten. It's remembering we're almost out of milk. It's time for the dentist appointments. There are permission slips that need to go back to school. We need food for this week, and daylight savings time is coming up. And so we need to figure out how we're going to manage bedtime routines. And oh yeah, the diaper bag needs to be stocked before anyone leaves the house with the baby. And here's the kicker. Most of the time, women are carrying the majority of this load, even in relationships where both partners work outside the home. This is not a podcast episode or a podcast altogether to ever slam men. That is not the goal here. I actually think that there are a lot of men out there who want to bring down the patriarchy, who want to find ways to have more balanced relationships, and who are fighting and overcoming their own conditioning and the things that society offered them. There are men out there who are undoing that. So those tend to be the people I work with, and I love them so much. But a study from the American Sociological Review found that in heterosexual relationships, women are more likely to take on cognitive labor, which is just a fancy term for constantly anticipating and planning daily household needs. So if you've been fighting over nothing, it's probably nothing. It could be that you are carrying all of it and feeling like your partner doesn't see the weight of that responsibility. So let's look at how this builds into frustration, because I hear this from a lot of you, whether you are my client, whether you are thinking about working with me and we're chatting in DMs, or whether you're posting this stuff on your own channels. It's not that I mind doing these things. I just mind that I have to be the one to remember them, plan them, and also ask for the help needed to execute them. This is where resentment kicks in, because when we constantly have to delegate, it still puts us in charge, right? So it still means you're managing things and your partner is an assistant, and that dynamic wears on you. It feels unfair. It doesn't feel sexy. It feels annoying. Like there's a lot that wears on you in that situation. So it also leads to what I like to call preemptive resentment, when you're already irritated before something even happens because you know you're going to be the one who's responsible. Okay? Tell me online and tag me when you talk about your experience with preemptive resentment. For example, let's say you're about to head out the door with the kids, okay? You're already stressed because you know that you're the only one who thought about packing snacks, water bottles, extra pair of underwear, and diapers. And your partner might have said, oh, well, you should have just asked me to help. But the point is, you shouldn't have to ask. The mental load is already in motion way before the task even gets done. So why does this happen? Why do so many partners, especially men in heterosexual relationships, struggle to see the mental load? I don't think it's just because they're a ball of crap most of the time. Some of you possibly do have partners that are a ball of crap, but most of you don't, especially if you're listening to this podcast. I think that you have partners that most often want to step up, want to have a partnership, want to really share this experience with you. But there are some things working against them. One, they weren't raised to see it. Many men grew up in households where moms handled all of this seamlessly. It was not modeled for them. And I say seamlessly, like that's how they probably took it in their brains as the child and as the outside party looking at it. But I bet if you talk to mother-in-law, it was not as seamless as maybe your partner thinks it was. Number two, they don't experience the consequences the same way. If a permission slip is forgotten, the school's probably going to email you. If the house is messy, you feel the weight of judgment, not them. I've never heard of a father-in-law coming over and being like, oh, I see my son didn't clean the house. No, it's typically the wife, the female, who feels like, oh my gosh, what kind of partner do I look like to their parents because I can't keep everything together. Okay, it's just like this thread through society that is still permeating everything. And number three, they often think helping is enough. A lot of partners genuinely believe they are helping by doing tasks, but they don't realize that managing and delegating is an entirely separate job in and of itself. That's what we want more people to understand. Again, this is not about demonizing men, okay? This is about recognizing that many people just don't see what they've never been expected to carry. So it's not been expected of them. They're likely just not seeing it in the same way. But you don't want to stay there, right? Let's get to the part that actually helps. How do we shift this? Because here's what doesn't work. Passive-aggressively doing everything and hoping that they notice. It's not working out for you, is it? Complaining about how tired you are without actually addressing the problem. It's not working out for you. Expecting them to suddenly start seeing everything you see overnight because you talked about it once. It's not working out for you. Here's what does work, and not overnight. Okay, this is a journey, both in your relationship, in your home, and again, societally and in the big picture. But let's do more of the things that do work. First, have a direct, clear conversation. Instead of, I do everything around here. Try, I don't want to be the one who has to remember everything. I need us to divide the responsibility of managing this home. Reallocate whole categories, not just tasks. So instead of, hey, can you pick up milk today? try making a bigger shift. You're in charge of groceries from now on, planning, shopping, and making sure we have what we need. Now, I highly recommend working together to figure out how to reallocate whole categories. That is something that I do help my clients do. And in our last episode last week, Sandy was on talking about fair play. So she can also support you in this. But instead of you keeping the whole category and just delegating little tasks like you're a project manager for a corporate business, invite them to the whole category. And then you got to let it go. Okay. That's part of it. You got to let it go if someone else is picking it up. And so that goes right into point 3, which is let them actually take full responsibility. No reminding, no double checking, no micromanaging. If they forget, they deal with the consequences. They're going back to the store at 9:00 at night, which is annoying. They're coming up with a different dinner for the kids who are whiny and freaking out because something didn't get picked up. Like, that stuff happens and it's okay. And number 4 is have that weekly check-in, okay? You hear me say this over and over and over again, and still some of you are not doing it. What is going on? Here's another reminder to have a weekly check-in. And you want to include things like what's on our plate this week, who's handling what, what's feeling unbalanced. And here's the most important part, okay? When they start taking things on, don't correct how they do it. Yes, they might do things differently than you. That's okay. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is shared responsibility. Okay, so here's your challenge for this week. Take 10 minutes to sit down with your partner and have one conversation about the mental load. Doesn't have to be a big, heavy talk. Just hey, I'm realizing I'm carrying a lot of invisible responsibilities. I don't even know if you know what all of them are. And maybe you have some that you're carrying that I don't even know what they are. I don't want to feel like I'm doing this alone. Can we take a look at how we can balance this better? And if you're thinking, Chelsea, I don't even know where to start with this conversation, then I've got you. I have plenty of free, ready-to-use conversation starters to help you bring this up in a way that doesn't immediately turn into an argument. So look at the link in the show notes to that relationship jumpstart bundle that is going to have conversations you can start with today. If this episode hit home for you, please send it to a friend, share it on social media, and tag me on Instagram. You can tag the podcast page, Better Relationships After Baby, or you can tag me at Chelsea Brooks Skaggs. And if you haven't yet, please take a second to leave a review. This helps more people find the podcast and get the support they need. All right, friend, go take something off your mental load today. You deserve it. Talk soon.
If you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful if you take a minute to help spread the word. As a small business owner, shares and reviews go a long way. So share this episode with a friend, share it on your social media, and please leave a review if you haven't done so. This helps these messages get to more mamas, and you guys, that's how we change the world.